Welcome back, everybody. Today we are going to be creating this glitchy travel video. We are going to be taking some very basic built-in After Effects plugins and presets, and we are going to be creating something that looks really cool and unique. It's pretty random. I'm just making this up on the fly. We're just going to go with the flow. We're going to try a few things. We might succeed, we might not, but if you're watching this, then we have succeeded because I'm going to put what we end up with here in the intro. Before we get started, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel so we can keep making these tutorials. Hopefully you find these tutorials helpful. I'm Julio, your motion sidekick. Now let's get started. Welcome back, you guys. First thing I want to do is bring in my footage. So I'm going to double click in my project panel. I'm going to click and drag my footage down into the new composition icon. First thing we want to do is we want to rotoscope her out so that way she's walking and we can go ahead and animate some different elements within the scene here. So let's go ahead and click on a roto brush tool, double click on this layer, and then we are going to start drawing everything that we want included in this rotoscope. But you want to go through and make sure that you actually include everything that you want. If you hold down Option, it's going to change your icon from that green to a red, and then this is going to be taking away from that mask, and then green is going to be adding to the mask. We want to make sure that we're drawing everything in as much as possible. The less After Effects has to guess, the better job it's going to do. Okay, around her hair is going to be a little bit trickier because she has all these little flyaways. We want to make sure that those are all included. If you click and hold on your roto brush tool, you can select the refine edge tool. I'm not exactly sure how to explain that, but it's going to be going through and selecting all those little wisps of hairs, and you can see there what it's going to try to do. So now that you have your first frame selected, go ahead and hit page down. That's going to take you to the next frame. Double check that everything that is selected is supposed to be selected. Okay, let's go ahead and do page down again. After Effects generally does a pretty good job. So what I'm going to do now that it's done a few frames and it seems to be knowing what I want it to do, I'm just going to skip to the end of the clip, and it's automatically going to go through and draw all the frames in between. And I'm just going to go to the opposite end and go to the first frame of that clip, and then we'll have After Effects go in and rotoscope the rest of the frames. If everything looks good, go ahead and freeze those frames. This is going to lock those frames in, so then every time you preview this, After Effects doesn't have to re-render those frames. It's just going to automatically know, okay, this is what you want in your rotoscope. Now that we have our rotoscoping done, what we want to do is we want to add some different elements in the background here that's going to be tracking along with the scene as she's walking by them. Duplicate this layers, and then the layer underneath, we're going to turn the roto brush off, and actually we're just going to delete it. And now we want to track the camera on this layer, because now we want to add some 3D elements within this layer that's going to be tracked along with her as she's walking through that street. Under the advanced menu, go ahead and hit detailed analysis. Okay, now that it's done motion tracking the scene, it looks like we're at an average error of 1.63 pixels. Ideally, you want to be below 1 pixel. That's going to give you the best tracking here. So after playing around with some of the settings, it looks like variable zoom under auto detect is going to give us the average error of 1.48, which is the lowest that I was able to get it. Though we have all these little X's, all these little tracking points, what we want to do is we want to set a few planes here. That looks like a good spot. So I'm going to create a solid and a camera. I'm going to create a solid here. I'm going to create a solid here. I'm going to create a solid down here. Yeah, let's go ahead and create a solid down there. Okay, I might have gone a little bit overboard with the solids, but this is kind of what it looks like. All right, now you might be saying to yourself, this looks horrible. And you're probably right. Well, let's go ahead and put that roto layer on top, and you can see the effect starting to come to life. Right click in your layers window and then go to new solid. We are going to make this white. We're just going to call this mask. Over in your toolbar, I'm going to go ahead and double click this rectangle tool. That'll add in a mask. Go ahead and hit M for mask path, and we're just going to set a keyframe at 1 second, and then double click this, drag this up. I'm going to go to keyframe assistant and time reverse keyframe. So I'm going to reverse those keyframes so that way the mask animates on. This is having a hard time. Let me just, if you ever find that After Effects is having a hard time, usually that has to do with cache. So if you go to edit, purge, all cache, and then, yeah, I'm just going to get rid of that. All right, now that you have your mask, your white solid and your mask drawn out, let's go ahead and make that a 3D layer. I'm going to hit P for position. And under position, I want to match this to, let's go with this green layer or green solid here. So I'm going to hit P for position. If you hold down Option and click on the stopwatch to activate the expressions, and then I'm going to use my pick whip and bring it down to this position, and then that's going to match that position there. And then I'm going to set this no matte over to white solid 1. And I'm going to enable my roto. So the reason I created all these solids was because I want to add in different parts of the background animated like this. So she's going to be walking through the scene, but the scene is chopped up into different pieces. Let's go ahead and bring in a few more of these pieces and we'll go ahead and animate them on just like we did with that one. So in order to do that, I'm going to right click down here in my layers window and I'm going to go to new solid. I'm going to call this mask 2. I'm going to make this 3D, and then under position, I'm going to copy the position from this one, copy that, paste it onto this one, and then I'm going to hide that track solid because I've already taken that position, and I'm also going to hide this one. Let's go ahead and go back to our mask 2, hit R for rotation, and then we are just going to rotate this like so, and we're going to copy and paste the walking layer, and then we are going to change the snow mat over to mask 2. Let's go ahead and go to mask 2. I'm going to hit G for our pen tool, and I'm going to draw in a mask. And I think I just wanted to follow the lines that are in that shot. Hit M for mask, and I'm going to animate that mask so it animates on. I'm going to go up to this white solid, and I'm going to hit R for rotation. I want to rotate this over along the wall as well. And then I'm going to give it some Z rotation. Now I want to do some more on the floor, so I'm going to use these other masks, like this purple mask and this blue mask. Using that same method, I'm going to go through and add a few more elements here to the scene, and I'm just going to hide these shape layers, and I'm going to make them into parts of the image that are going to be revealed. And then we'll see what that looks like. Okay, now that I have these elements in and animated, you can take a look and see what we have here. I think I want to add some text elements as well. Go ahead and hit T on your keyboard, or you can hit, Command T on your keyboard, or you can click the type tool in your toolbar, and I'm just going to type in the word travel. Go ahead and move this down just a little bit, and then I'm going to make this a 3D layer. I'm going to put this up at the top. Roto, I want to bump up to the very top. I'm going to select my travel layer, and I'm going to hit P for position, and I'm going to push this back in C space, and then I'm just going to move this over. Let's go ahead and duplicate that layer. I'm going to change this over to Explore, and then I'm going to change the font. Really, this can be anything, but let's just go ahead and go, not Papyrus, anything but Papyrus. Let's go ahead and go to, Optima. This green marker here, I'm going to hit P for position, copy that position, and then under Explore, I'm going to hit P for position, and then I'm going to copy the position there, type in an E because it's Explore, not Explore. I'm going to select all the text, and then I'm going to make this quite a bit bigger here. And I'm actually going to choose a bulkier font. Poppins it is, because that's going to be poppin'. Command-Shift-D will duplicate that layer and split it where the timeline is at. And then I'm going to change the font on this one. And then I'm going to do the same thing, Command-Shift-D. And I'm going to change the font on this one. Now that we have our text elements in there, I'm going to add some animation presets. If you go to Animation Preset, go down to Text, and it looks like I've already had this selected, but we're going to go to Light, Optical, and then Fluorescent Light. And then we are going to throw that on to our Explore layer. And then we're also going to throw it onto our Travel layer. And then we're going to take Office Light and throw that onto our other Explore layer, and then our small layer here. This is starting to get a little messy, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this little Shy Guy here for all the track solids, and I'm also going to do that with the masks. And now I'm going to activate my little Shy Guy here, and what that does is anything that had those activated, it's just going to hide them. So now this cleans up our timeline here a little bit. All right, so now we want to add a little bit more flickering and a little bit more glitchiness, a little bit more randomness to the scene. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a displacement map around her. And the way I'm going to do that is just with some basic shapes. So I'm going to grab my rectangle tool up here, and I'm just going to draw in a bunch of shapes. And you can see they're just random. There's not really any order to them. I'm going to make some of these white just so you can see how they can start to play with each other. I'm going to call this displacement layer. So now I want to apply this displacement effect on the roto layer, but in order to do that, I have to pre-compose it first. So I'm going to hit Command-Shift-C to pre-compose. I'm going to call this roto, and then I'm going to make sure that all attributes are moved into the new composition. Now I'm going to look for an effect. The effect we're looking for is called displacement map. So I'm going to drag that onto my roto layer. Under the displacement map layer, I want to change this over to displace. And then I want to hide this displace. You can see what this is doing here, but we want to make this glitchy. So I'm going to hold down Option and click on that stopwatch to add my expression. And I'm just going to do a wiggle on here. And I want to do 20 and 200. And you can see what the black and white is doing here. So they're going to have different levels of displacement. And I also want to do the same thing for the vertical displacements. The other thing I want to do to this roto layer is I'm going to double click on that roto layer. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and add some different footage within the same rotoscope, so that way she gets replaced by some random footage, but still keeping that shape. So it's going to give it a weird, cool little glitch effect, right? So I'm going to go ahead and go select my layer here. I'm going to hold down Option and I'm going to click and drag and replace that Roto 2 layer. And you see that it replaces it with some buildings. And I think I want to do Command-Shift-D. That's going to duplicate it and paste it over here. All right, let's go ahead and go back to our main timeline here. So I'm going to go ahead and bring back my layers. And under, let's go ahead and try this one. I'm going to bring in the invert effect and I'm going to drag that on. And you see we get this kind of cool, it's almost like a negative. And I want to bring that on to a couple of these other clips. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this one more time. And on this main one, I'm going to set the displacement to no matte. I'm going to add one more layer here. And we're going to call this gradient. And under the effects, we want to search for a gradient ramp. And then under start of ramp, we want to hold down Option. And then I'm going to type in a wiggle effect. I'm going to say 10, 20,000. And then I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to go to end of ramp. And I'm going to do the same thing, paste it there and set, I'm going to change that to 30,000. And I'm going to change this to 15. So now our walking without matte, we're going to put this matte and we're going to make it go to the gradient. And we're also going to turn off the invert. And then we want to change this over to a Luma matte. So it's affected by the white and black. Okay, under this walking layer, I'm going to hit T for opacity and I'm going to make that 100%, go over a few frames. I'm going to make that 0, go over a few frames. I'm going to make that 100, go over a few frames and I'm going to do that 0. And now I'm going to hold down Option click, and I'm going to say loop out. Now what that's going to do is this is going to go all the way to here, and then it's going to loop back to the beginning. Yeah, let's add a little bit more variation. So let's go ahead and paste this a couple more times here. And just to make sure here, if I end this layer, that all goes away. Yes. Okay. All right, so going back to our project, what I want to do is I want to switch out this scene. So she's done walking through a city scene, and then she's going to go into an ocean scene. So I'm going to go back to my project, and I'm going to find the ocean clip, and I'm going to drag that onto here. And then I'm going to copy all of these keyframes here, copy all those, and then I'm going to paste them onto my ocean scene. Let's do another keyframe here, and then we're going to bring it into 100%. I want to make this a 3D layer, but I want to go ahead and map it to this back solid here. So track solid number 1, number 16. So I'm going to hit P for position, copy that, and then I'm going to go to my ocean, make this a 3D layer first, and then I'm going to paste the position into that. Now you can see it's clear up there, so I'm going to go ahead and hit S for scale, S for scale, S for scale, and I'm going to make it about that big. I'm going to duplicate here, duplicate, 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 and now I'm going to select these two and add an invert to them. So I'm going to add an invert there, and I'm going to add an invert there. Command A to select all my layers, and then I'm going to do a Command-Shift-C. I'm going to call this scene, and then I'm going to move all the attributes into the new composition. And then I'm going to go through and with Command-Shift-D, I'm going to duplicate the layer and split it. And I'm just randomly doing this. There's no rhyme or reason. I'm just going through, selecting a few things here. Now what I want to do is select a few of these, and I'm going to go time reverse layer. I'm going to go to time, and then I'm going to do a time stretch, and then I'm going to click that. I'm going to make that shorter. So I'm going to copy and paste this a couple of times because I want to do an overlay here. I'm going to copy and paste that one. And I'm going to right click on this one and go to time, freeze frame, go to time, freeze frame, go to time, freeze frame. And then on this bottom one, I'm going to go to time, and then I'm going to enable time remapping. And then I'm going to go to the beginning of this, activate a keyframe, go to the end of it, activate a keyframe, activate a keyframe. And then I'm going to drag this keyframe out here. And then I'm going to hit F9 for easy ease. I'm going to copy and paste that section. And then I'm going to do scale. I'm going to unlink them. And then I'm going to do -100. And then I'm going to move this one all the way up to here. And then I'm going to select both and move them down so you get this cool effect. So you can see I just kind of randomly picked some different time effects here. So hopefully that just splitting up the layers like that will give it some weird randomness and add to this glitchiness effect of the whole piece. Let's go ahead and double click on the scene here. And then I want to add some cinema bars. So let's go ahead and right click, go to solid. Let's make this black. And then double click on this rectangle tool, double click on that, hold down command, and that'll bring it in from top and bottom at the same time. And then under mask, I want to hit M and I'm going to say subtract. So now that's kind of a cool effect with her walking outside the frame while everything else is still inside the frame. All right, so I'm going to duplicate this roto layer, and under effects and presets, I'm going to search for motion tile. Under tile center, I'm going to hold down option and activate the stopwatch, and then I'm going to type in wiggle, and I'm going to type in 2,120. And then I'm going to copy and paste that one. And then I'm going to hit P for position, and I'm going to move this one over here. And then this one, I'm going to move P for position. I'm going to add this one here. And I'm going to select both of these, duplicate like so, get rid of that, duplicate that, duplicate, get rid of that one, get rid of that one. All right, let's go ahead and go to our main timeline. I'm going to hit spacebar. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at all the chaos here that we've created. And there you go, guys. Hopefully you can see that with just a little bit of trial and error, just some basic tools in After Effects, some basic plugins, some basic presets, we can get some really cool animations. Hopefully what we did here, we opened up an avenue of trying new things. Don't be afraid to try. If it fails, just start over. Yeah, it's okay. I won't tell anyone. Hopefully you found something inspiring here, but at the very least you found something what not to do. If you like what you're seeing here, give the video a like. If you want to see something else, please comment down below. Thank you again for coming back. Please subscribe to the channel. I'm Julio, your motion sidekick, here to help you out on your motion side quest. And until next time, I love you guys. Peace out.